Stella, my kids were jumping up and down yesterday after their final distance school assignment. I want to give a big thank you, a big shout out to all of our teachers out there, especially my kids' teachers, Mrs. Wanless, Mrs. Mueller, Mrs. Goff. You've done an incredible job adjusting and helping the kids get through a very trying time. So thanks for making the best of it.
Yes, our teachers have done such an amazing job having to pivot just like all of the parents. So, hey, since we're giving shout outs, a big shout out to Miss Dela Cruz and Mrs. K, my daughter's teachers.
My daughter had Miss Dela Cruz too.
There you
She's
go.
amazing.
Yes.
Thank you, teachers, for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.
We're going to get to all the reopenings here today in a moment, but first we want to start with this.
Fire investigators looking into what caused a number of fires that happened overnight, including a pair of brush fires along the 15. Now, the first one happened at about 11 last night in a riverbed area just north of the 94. Another fire started just a short time later on the 15 south of the 94. Investigators are trying to determine if they are both connected.
And now to Lincoln Park, where nearly 10 people were forced out of their homes after a fire at an apartment complex. So this one started in a garage along 50th Street north of Imperial Avenue. It was just before 2 this morning. The fire destroyed a pickup truck. You see it right there. Crews were able to quickly put out those flames. And an investigation is underway into another garage fire. This one is in Vista. This one started around 12:45 this morning on Poinsettia Avenue, west of the 78. The fire destroyed at least 2 cars. Fire crews from Vista and San Marcos were able to put out those flames.
More businesses around the county reopening today. We're talking about everything from gyms to hotels to wine bars.
Yes, good news here. News 8's Teresa Sardina is live at Liberty Station now with a closer look at the big day ahead here. Great to hear things are reopening, Teresa.
Good morning, Eric and Stella, and everyone. It's such a beautiful morning here at Liberty Station in Point Loma, one of San Diego's popular spots for shopping, dining, and fitness. Yeah, really good news. People are starting to feel a little better knowing that we are now in phase 3. County officials announced this week that more businesses are reopening today. So we have a list here. As you had mentioned, the gyms are reopening. We have hotels, movie theaters, properties for tourism, bars, some wineries, community swimming pools, family entertainment such as bowling alleys and batting cages, professional sports without spectators. Also reopening galleries, museums, and aquariums, zoos, and the San Diego Zoo will reopen next Saturday, June 20th, and we have a full list at CBS8.com. We want to remind you of the county's COVID-19 guidelines. Wear facial coverings when required, wash your hands, maintain a 6 feet social distance, and if you're out, return home if you have a cough or are feeling feverish. And News 8 spoke with County Supervisor Jim Desmond, and he says, as a community, we have to follow the guidelines to keep this up.
They're empowering their employees to, enforce social distancing and make sure everybody's, doing it properly and making sure everything is clean. And really, what they want to do is, with all businesses, is build up that consumer confidence so people will start coming and continue to come.
So we're talking about the gyms reopening today. They are allowed to reopen. That doesn't mean all gyms are going to open their doors. Some are opening tomorrow and next week. And we're talking about how we are now in stage 3, or phase 3, and now we're waiting on phase 4. So the county does not have a date set for that, but phase 4 will include nail salons, salons that offer facials and waxing, tattoo parlors, and concerts and conventions. Well, I'm gonna go put on my workout clothes because coming up at 6:30, we're heading to Point Loma Sports Club. We're talking about the new rules and regulations and what your new temporary gym experience is going to be like. I'll send it back to you.
Teresa, thank you. I received several messages on my social media going, I'm ready to hit the gym.
Yes.
Even with the new restrictions in place.
Get ready to shut off the COVID-15.
There you go, the 15. Another popular spot for natives and tourists is reopening. Several areas around Balboa Park will reopen.
News 8's Chris Groh is live at the Air and Space Museum with that part of the story, and they're letting you inside here for a sneak peek. Chris?
Good morning. That's right, because there are going to be a lot of changes here at the Air and Space Museum as well as other parts of Balboa Park. So we want to give you a good preview so you know exactly what you're headed into, but then also what you can obviously still enjoy. So here at the Air and Space Museum, They have been making these changes since the day that they close. They've been basically trying to make sure that when they do reopen, they will be prepared. In fact, let's go through what will be different once you are here at the Air and Space Museum. There are going to be several protocols. Obviously, there's going to be smaller crowds. They're going to have a limit on occupancy. There's going to be obviously some enforcing of social distancing. Everyone, staff and visitors, will be required to wear face coverings. And then staff is also going to be going through a thermal screener to make sure, obviously, that they do not have any type of a fever. And then if they're feeling sick, obviously, they're being told to stay home. And that's in order to make sure that everybody stays safe. So the museum is going to be open starting today for everybody to enjoy, but they're not the only landmark or service inside Balboa Park reopening today. In fact, a lot of the parking lots that were closed off due to trying to keep everybody outside of the park, trying to limit how many people were in, those are going to be reopening. The visitor center is going to reopen today. The Prado restaurant, this is pretty cool. They're going to be reopening for grab-and-go picnic service. And then the Japanese Friendship Garden Tea Pavilion, as well as Prado Perk Coffee, will reopen. Now, other big-name attractions like the zoo and the Automotive Museum, they won't be opening until next weekend. But the CEO of the Air and Space Museum, Jim Kidrick, again told us that he wanted to make sure that his staff knew the day that they closed that they would be reopening, and this is why. Take a listen.
It's so important because, you know, as I told our team, and certainly they embraced, is that we're going to reopen. Okay, so we should plan the reopening that we think is best for our guests, certainly our team here, our staff, and our volunteers, and that planning process is very important if you want to get it right.
And again, some of the other things that they've done here at the Air and Space Museum is make sure there are no choke points. Obviously, when you're in a museum, you're kind of following all the different, objects and things like that you're looking at. And so they wanted to try to change everything around to make sure that people weren't getting kind of bottled up into certain areas. So that's something else that they did as well. So for a complete list of what's opening and when here at Balboa Park, go to our website, cbs8.com, click on the story link, and you'll get that list right there. Guys, back to you.
Chris, thanks. As hotels reopen their doors for the first time in 3 months, we got a sneak peek of Kona Kai Resort on Shelter Island. They say guests will notice the changes out there due to strict county and state COVID-19 guidelines. The new experience will begin at check-in. Take a look.
As soon as they get up to leave, we'll see our staff coming out to wipe everything down thoroughly.
So here are some things to expect here. You won't get to validate your car. Guests will initially be required to keep their mask on, but the outdoors will allow for more breathing room. Room service will be different too. Food, towels, and everything else will be dropped off at the door, and rooms will no longer offer magazines or menus. It's all touchless right there on your television.
And now to the latest on the coronavirus cases in the county. The total number is nearing 9,000. Officials reported 161 new cases of COVID out of nearly 5,000 tests performed. That's a positive rate of 3.2%, just above the 14-day rolling average of 3.1%. 16% of all cases have required hospitalization. The total number of cases now stands at 8,988. 3 additional deaths were reported, bringing the death toll to 308 people. And more relief is coming to small businesses and renters. Mayor Kevin Faulconer says the city has set aside $85 million to help the local economy. The mayor also says local companies like UCSD Health, Scripps, and Innovio, to just name a few, are hard at work trying to find a COVID-19 cure to hopefully bring an end to the pandemic. And we are also keeping a close eye on several brush fires that sparked across the county in the last few days. Evacuation orders are no longer in place for the Skyline fire in the East County. Flames started yesterday on Skyline Truck Trail in Lawson Valley. Multiple helicopters made water drops. It burned about 100 acres in rough terrain before crews got a handle on it. Another fire erupted between Miramar and Santee Lakes. It burned about 15 acres. As of last night, containment was 50%, but updated that to now 25%.
Time now for your morning rush. Police in La Mesa have arrested 2 people now for looting during riots 2 weeks ago. Police say 25-year-old Ray Estrada Silva looted the Verizon store and the Target in the Grossmont Shopping Center the night of May 30th and was previously arrested but out on bail. He was rearrested on suspicion of also looting the Play It Again sports store. They also arrested 26-year-old Helen Tewold and say she looted the Sally's Beauty Supply store on the same night. They're both charged with burglary during an emergency. A peaceful demonstration is scheduled in La Jolla today in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. So heads up if you're in the area here. Organizers say the march is expected to start at 1 p.m. at La Jolla Cove and ends at Wyndon Sea Beach. Local leaders plan to take part, including Councilmember Barbara Bree, whose district includes La Jolla. Organizers of San Diego Pride are calling for 4 requests to be met before they'll allow San Diego law enforcement agencies to participate in this year's virtual event. Pride organizers are calling for SDPD to stop charging them for security and traffic enforcement and support police reform measures, among other changes.
It is a step that folks can take and that our city can take immediately in order to produce harm reduction for Black and brown communities.
The San Diego Police Department responded in a statement to News 8 saying the department is, quote, disappointed with the decision, but will focus on reviewing recommendations brought forth to continually strengthen community partnerships. Pride will be streamed virtually this year out of an abundance of caution.